Wealthy group laughs at a farmer's clothes. Rustic to some, a queen to others. While the elite of Oak Ridge mocked her clothes, she was running an empire that feeds half the world. When she finally took out her braid and spoke at the meeting, they understood that power doesn't always wear a suit. Welcome to the channel. Before we begin, like and subscribe so we can keep creating stories like this one. In the vast lands of Nebraska, where corn stretched to the horizon and the sun embraced the earth with relentless fervor, Lucy Richardson had learned to walk with her feet firmly planted in the farm's dust. From a young age, her grandfather, Don Walter, had taught her that true wealth lay in the land and in the honesty with which one worked it. Raised on Daybreak Ranch, inherited through 5 generations, Lucy had become a woman everyone respected but few truly knew. At 35, Lucy maintained her simplicity, worn jeans, dirt-covered boots, and loose shirts. Her black hair, usually gathered in a braid, rarely received the care that any other woman with her fortune might afford. Because what no one suspected was that, while supervising the corn harvest and coordinating field workers, Lucy was also silently directing one of America's most powerful agribusiness empires, Horizon Group. "Ma'am, we need your approval for the new planting," said Thomas, the foreman who had been working for the family for 20 years. Lucy reviewed the documents with the same attention she devoted to the small corn seedlings. "Go ahead, but make sure we respect the Earth's cycles." "I don't want it depleted by our ambition," she responded, as the wind gently swayed her straw. Had in the ranch kitchen, Mrs. Dorothy, who had raised her since her parents departed in that tragic accident, prepared the freshly made biscuits that Lucy loved so much. "Child, why don't you hire someone to take care of these matters? Your grandfather wouldn't have wanted to see you so tied to the land," she lovingly reproached while serving her coffee. "Grandpa taught me that to lead, one must know, and to know, one must live what the people live," Lucy replied with a serene smile. "Besides, what would I do in an air-conditioned office all day?" What Mrs. Dorothy didn't know was that every week Lucy held video conferences with executives from New York, Tokyo, and Chicago. That decisions made in that rustic kitchen moved millions of dollars on the New York Stock Exchange. That the Horizon Empire, with subsidiaries in biotechnology, distribution, and food product exports, depended on those hands weathered by the sun. At the other extreme of American reality, in the exclusive area of Oak Ridge in San Francisco, Alex Montgomery enjoyed brunch on the terrace of the most luxurious hotel in the city. Son of a textile businessman and current marketing director of a prestigious international brand, Alex represented everything Lucy avoided: ostentation, superficiality, and contempt for the authentic. "I swear, Melissa, I found the perfect investment," he commented to his girlfriend while twirling a mimosa glass between his fingers. "A traditional corn business, something folksy that we can modernize and sell to foreigners as an authentic American experience. Foreign investors are crazy about these back-to-roots things." Melissa Foster, an influencer with over 1 million followers on her social media, nodded distractedly while taking her umpteenth selfie with the city skyline in the background. "And the current owners are willing to sell?" she asked without genuine interest. "It's some old lady who inherited the family business. She surely has no idea of the potential she has in her hands. My father says these country people are easy to convince with the right figures," he replied, with an arrogant smile. What Alex didn't know was that this old lady was precisely Lucy Richardson, CEO of Horizon Group, the parent company that had recently rejected 3 purchase offers from his father's company. Meanwhile, at the ranch, Lucy received a call from Isabel Winters, her right hand in business, and the only person in the company who knew both facets of her life. "Lucy, we need you to come to the city. The Japanese investors want to close the expansion deal and demand to meet the CEO personally before signing." Isabel's voice sounded concerned. "You know I don't like appearing at those meetings," Lucy replied while watching the sunset over the cornfields. "This time it's unavoidable. It's $300 million and a unique opportunity for the company. Also," Isabel paused, "Montgomery Textile's son will be there. Apparently, he's been investigating our ranches for a possible acquisition." Lucy sighed. She knew the Montgomery family, well, famous for acquiring traditional businesses, squeezing out their essence and turning them into empty tourist attractions. They had destroyed several historic ranches this way. "All right," she finally conceded. "I'll arrive in the city tomorrow." That night, while packing her only formal suit, Lucy contemplated her grandfather's portrait hanging on the adobe wall. "Am I doing the right thing, Grandpa? Sometimes I think these two lives can't coexist forever." The silence of the American night was her only answer, but in her heart, Lucy knew the moment was approaching when her two worlds would collide, and she would have to show what the heiress of the land was really made of. San Francisco dawned. Wrapped in a mist that blurred the outlines of the skyscrapers, Lucy observed from the taxi window the contrast between the grayish sky and the artificial lights that never went out in the city. She had arrived early, determined to conclude her business and return to Nebraska as soon as possible. The Presidio International Hotel, located in the heart of Oak Ridge, hosted the year's largest agribusiness convention. Lucy entered through the side door wearing no makeup and dressed in the same jeans and boots she wore at the ranch. She'd only added a clean shirt for the occasion. She had no intention of presenting herself as an executive. First, she wanted to observe, understand the environment, be invisible as she had always been. "Ma'am, the service entrance is around back," a guard told her condescendingly as she crossed the lobby. Lucy smiled without taking offense. "Thank you, but I'm just taking a look," she responded with her characteristic calm. In the main hall, executives in suits and ties discussed market trends, sustainability, and quarterly profits. Among them, Alex Montgomery shone with his studied charisma, surrounded by potential investors to whom he spoke about revitalizing American agricultural traditions. "The secret is preserving the appearance of authenticity while modernizing everything inside," he explained enthusiastically. "International consumers want to feel connected to something real, but with the comforts of modern life. Our project to purchase traditional ranches maintains the rustic facade while installing cutting-edge technology invisible to the tourist's eye." Lucy stopped to listen, feeling a deep sadness for the way they talked about her people's traditions as mere marketing tools. At that moment, Isabel Winters appeared at her side, elegantly dressed in a tailored suit. "They're waiting for you in the boardroom," she whispered. "The Japanese arrived earlier than expected." "I need 15 minutes, Lucy replied. "I have to change." Isabel quickly led her to a suite reserved for her. There, Lucy transformed. She undid her braid, letting her jet black hair fall over her shoulders, changed her jeans for a sober black suit that highlighted her slender figure, and swapped her boots for discreet but elegant heels. Subtle makeup completed the metamorphosis. "Ready to be Lucy Richardson, CEO of Horizon Group?" Isabel asked with a knowing smile. "I'll never be ready," Lucy confessed, "but let's do it." The meeting proceeded with the precision of a Swiss watch. The Japanese investors were impressed with the deep knowledge Lucy demonstrated about every aspect of the business, from the soil composition on her different ranches to 5-year financial projections. The agreement was practically closed, pending only some legal formalities. Upon leaving the boardroom, Lucy felt exhausted. The executive personality always felt draining to her, like wearing a mask that prevented her from breathing naturally. "I need air," she told Isabel. "I'm going to change and take a walk before the gala dinner." She returned to her room and, like a liberating ritual, put her jeans, boots, and cotton shirt back on. She gathered her hair in the usual braid and cleaned off her makeup. Only then did she feel like herself again. She decided to visit the hotel's exclusive boutique, not to buy anything, but because she had heard they sold traditional crafts at exorbitant prices and wanted to see how they marketed the culture she loved so much. The American Essence store was a minimalist space with theatrical lighting, where objects that any popular market would sell for $20 were displayed as invaluable treasures. Lucy was examining a replica of traditional pottery when she heard contained laughter near her. "Did you see what she's wearing?" whispered a female voice that Lucy recognized as Melissa Foster's. "She must be one of those tour guides who bring foreigners to experience the real America. Or maybe she's someone's great aunt who snuck into the hotel," replied Alex Montgomery, provoking more laughter from his group of friends. These provincial people always find a way to infiltrate these events. Lucy continued observing the crafts, apparently imperturbable. She had dealt with such prejudices all her life. "Excuse me, ma'am," a salesperson said to her in a condescending tone. "These objects are exclusive pieces. The price of this piece you're touching is $4,500. "I know," Lucy replied calmly. "It's a replica of traditional pottery. The original would have a different thickness at the edge, and the color would be more intense in the blues. This is pretty, but it's not worth even a tenth of what you're charging." The salesperson blushed while Alex's group observed the scene with poorly disguised amusement. "Perhaps the lady would prefer to visit some artisan market downtown," suggested the salesperson with a tense smile. At that precise moment, the hotel director crossed the boutique door with a hurried step. Upon seeing Lucy, his face lit up with recognition and respect. "Mrs. Richardson, we've been looking for you everywhere," he exclaimed deferentially. "The representatives from the Department of Commerce have arrived and specifically request your presence at the preliminary meeting before dinner." The silence that followed was absolute. The salesperson turned pale. Melissa dropped her phone. Alex Montgomery stood paralyzed with an expression of total disbelief. "Thank you, Richard," Lucy responded naturally. "I'll be there in a moment. I was just evaluating how our culture is marketed in these spaces." "Of course, Mrs. Richardson," replied the director, slightly bowing his head. "As the hotel's owner, your opinion is invaluable to us." The looks of astonishment intensified. Nobody knew that Horizon Group had acquired the Presidio International the previous year in a transaction kept out of the public eye. Before leaving, Lucy stopped in front of Alex Montgomery. "I'd be interested in hearing more about your project to revitalize traditions," she said, with a serene but firm voice. "Perhaps we could talk during dinner about what it really means to preserve the essence of America." Without waiting for a response, Lucy left the boutique, leaving behind an astonished silence and a group of people whose perception of the world had just radically changed. The news spread through the hotel like wildfire. Lucy Richardson, the enigmatic multimillionaire behind Horizon Group, had been walking among them dressed as a simple farm woman. For the gala dinner, all eyes were on the main door, awaiting the triumphant entrance of the woman who silently controlled an empire. But Lucy never appeared. Instead of attending the dinner, she had decided to return to Nebraska that same night. The revelation of her identity hadn't been planned, and although she knew she would eventually have to face the consequences, she preferred to do it on her own turf, where she felt strong and centered. "Isabel, take care of everything," she told her assistant on the phone as her driver took her to the airport. "Tell them an emergency came up at the ranch." 3 days later at Daybreak Ranch, Lucy supervised the harvest like any other day. The sun shone intensely over the cornfields, and the air smelled of damp earth after a brief morning rain. It was as if nothing had changed, though she knew everything was different now. "Miss Lucy," Thomas called, interrupting her thoughts. "There are visitors at the main entrance. They say they have an appointment with you." Lucy frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. "Who are they?" "Mr. Alex Montgomery and a young lady. They arrived in a very luxurious car," Thomas replied warily. Lucy's heart skipped a beat, but her expression remained impassive. "Show them to the central courtyard. Tell them I'll attend to them in half an hour." Thomas nodded and walked away, while Lucy contemplated the horizon, mentally preparing for the encounter. When she finally entered the central courtyard, she found Alex and Melissa visibly uncomfortable under the intense Nebraska sun. She was still in her field outfit, making no concession to appearances. "Mr. Montgomery, Miss Foster, welcome to Daybreak Ranch," she greeted them with courtesy but without warmth. "To what do I owe the honor of your visit?" Alex, who had mentally rehearsed a speech during the entire trip, seemed to have lost his words. Dressed in an expensive but inappropriate suit for the rural environment, he was perspiring profusely. "Mrs. Richardson, we wanted to personally apologize for the misunderstanding at the hotel," he began, carefully choosing his words. "And also, if you allow me, present a collaboration proposal that could mutually benefit us." Lucy invited them to sit under the shade of an old oak tree. Mrs. Dorothy appeared with a pitcher of fresh lemonade and earthenware glasses, which Melissa observed with distrust before tentatively drinking. "I'm listening," said Lucy, serving. "Them water naturally. Our company is developing a sustainable tourism project centered on authentic American traditions," explained Alex, recovering part of his usual confidence. "After meeting you, I understood that our initial approach was superficial. We would like to learn from your experience, partner with Horizon Group, to create something that truly respects and values traditions while generating economic opportunities for local communities." Lucy listened attentively, looking for signs of sincerity in his words. Melissa, meanwhile, observed, fascinated by the simplicity and natural beauty of the place. "It's very beautiful here," Melissa commented unexpectedly. "My grandmother grew up in a town in Kentucky, but she never took me there. She always said I was too much of a city girl to appreciate rural life." Something in the vulnerability of that comment touched Lucy. "Mr. Montgomery," she finally responded, "I have rejected 3 offers from your father in the last 2 years because they all sought to turn our ranches into theme parks that would empty our traditions of meaning. If your proposal is similar, I'm afraid my answer is still no." Alex turned pale. "I didn't know my father had made those offers," he confessed. "This proposal is completely independent. In fact," he made a dramatic pause, "I've separated from the family business to start my own path." 6 months later, American Entrepreneurs magazine published on its cover, "The Silent Revolution of American Agriculture: How Lucy Richardson is Transforming the Rural Business Model." The article detailed the surprising collaboration between Horizon Group and Alex Montgomery's newly formed company, Authentic Roots, which was developing experiential tourism programs where visitors participated in traditional agricultural processes, learned from local farmers, and experienced authentic rural American life. The project, personally supervised by Lucy, included strict ethical standards, fair percentages of profits for communities, absolute preservation of traditional techniques, and reinvestment in local infrastructure. The most surprising for many was Alex's transformation. The once superficial businessman now dressed simply and spent entire weeks in rural communities, learning directly from farmers. One afternoon, while together supervising the construction of a school financed by their joint project in a small Nebraska community, Alex confessed to Lucy, "You know, when I arrived at your ranch that day, I did it thinking it was a business strategy. I never imagined it would change my way of seeing the world." Lucy smiled. "The land has that capacity. It teaches you to distinguish the authentic from the artificial." "Why did you give me a chance?" he asked. "After how we treated you at the Shum Hotel, you had every right to throw us off your property." "I saw something in you that perhaps you didn't even see then," she replied. "A restlessness, a search for purpose beyond empty success. My grandfather used to say that everyone deserves the opportunity to find their true path." The most surprising transformation, however, had been Melissa's. The influencer had discovered at Daybreak Ranch a connection to her roots that she had never explored. She began documenting her learning about agricultural traditions on her social media, and to everyone's amazement, her authenticity resonated with millions of followers. Now she directed a program for urban youth who wanted to reconnect with their rural origins. A year after the hotel incident, the first National Congress of Sustainable and Traditional Agriculture was held in Omaha. The auditorium was packed with business people, politicians, farmers, and students. Lucy, dressed in her usual jeans and boots, took the stage to enthusiastic applause. "Many ask me why a woman with my resources still dresses like a farmer and works the land directly," she began. "The answer is simple: because it's who I am. Authenticity isn't a marketing strategy, it's a way of life." She paused and observed the audience. In the front row, Alex and Melissa looked at her with genuine respect. In America, for too long we have valued the foreign above our own, the superficial above the profound, appearance above essence. But the true wealth of our country lies in the ancestral wisdom that connects human beings with the land. Her words resonated in the auditorium like a long-awaited truth. Success isn't measured in bank account figures, but in the positive impact we generate in our communities. True elegance isn't in the brands we wear, but in the dignity with which we treat all human beings, regardless of their origin or appearance. Upon finishing her speech, the ovation was deafening. National and international journalists rushed to get interviews, but Lucy, true to her style, slipped out through a side door. She had to return to the ranch. The next day, they would begin planting a new variety of corn they had developed to better resist the effects of climate change. That night, while contemplating the starry sky from her ranch patio, she felt a profound peace. Her grandfather would be proud. She had managed to preserve the essence of his legacy while transforming the American agricultural industry. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Isabel. Horizon Group shares rose 15% after your speech, she informed her, and 6 collaboration proposals have arrived from international companies that want to learn our business model. Lucy smiled. Tell them we're open to teaching, but only to those willing to learn, with humility and respect. As she hung up, she looked at the sky again. A shooting star crossed the firmament, and Lucy remembered something her grandfather used to tell her. True power isn't in pretending, but in being, and whoever learns to value their roots will never be uprooted by any storm. Dear listeners, we hope that Lucy Richardson's story has taught you the value of authenticity and respect for our roots. To learn more inspiring stories about extraordinary women transforming America with their wisdom and determination, we've prepared a special series that you can find by clicking on your left. If this narrative touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Each week we share stories that celebrate the true essence of our traditions and values. What family tradition do you cherish? We invite you to share it in the comments. Your story could inspire our next narrative.